Good morning all, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar. I do hope that you're all keeping safe and well. First of all, before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. We are obviously all still working remotely, so we do apologise in advance for any unplanned disturbances. I am actually back in the office this morning as it was too noisy at home to record, but we do also have workmen in the office downstairs, so we may get some banging. Louise has just gone downstairs to ask them to stop for half an hour, so fingers crossed we can get through it without any unplanned interruptions. Just so that you know, you are all on mute and cameras are switched off, so you can see us, but we can't see you. You do have the facility to ask questions as we go through today's presentation. So if you wish to do so, if you wish to ask a question, please type it into the Q&A box at the bottom or top of your screen. We will try and answer them as we go through the webinar today. But if not, if we don't have time or it's something that we don't have the answer to straight away, don't worry, we will come back to you. So we've covered some really interesting topics so far, and the feedback has been excellent. If we've missed any of the recordings from previous sessions, please do take a look at our YouTube channel, and you can find us on there by searching for Oakmere Wealth. Today, I wanted to talk to you about what to do with your cash savings. Having enough cash in the bank is an essential part of anyone's financial planning. As a minimum, I would always recommend that you keep at least 3 to 6 months expenditure in an instant access account, just in case of unforeseen emergencies, such as a medical emergency or a sudden requirement for assistance from the bank of mum and dad. We have many clients who choose to keep much higher amounts in cash for various reasons. They may have recently sold a business or a property, they might have received an inheritance, and they could just be looking for a short-term home for funds. It may even be money sitting in the company business account that you can't invest for taxation reasons, or even just over the years, you've opened various bank accounts trying to search for the best rate, and it's just accumulated. Now, I'd never recommend that a client is 100% invested in equity investments. So it's crucial to get the balance right between cash and investments, but the amounts depend on the individual's own circumstances. Now, having cash in the bank can bring its own problems. It shouldn't be seen as a zero risk investment strategy. Inflation over time will erode the value of the funds sitting in cash. And so it's important that we try and get the best interest rates possible to reduce the impact of inflation. The other issue with having cash sat in the bank is security. In the last financial crisis, we saw a number of big names vanish overnight. And in today's world, you're only covered for deposits of up to $85,000 per person per institution. So it makes no sense to exceed this level and take on that additional risk. In 2007-2008, the Bank of England reduced interest rates from 5%, remember those days, down to 0.5%. And it took until 2018 for them to rise and reach the heady heights of 0.75%. Earlier this year, the Bank of England made the decision to slash interest rates to 0.1%. And this is the lowest level on record. So the bank's done this to try and reduce the economic impact of the coronavirus outbreak, and it's difficult to predict when interest rates will start to rise again. At the moment, inflation is still below the official target of 2% in the UK, which means potentially we could even see a further reduction of interest rates if they feel it's appropriate to try and stimulate the economy. We've seen the UK economy shrink in the first quarter of 2020, unemployment is rising, and UK economic growth forecasts are being cut, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility we could see further reductions. The problem faced by many clients is that the hassle of actually trying to find the best interest rate and then physically open the bank account means that they don't bother, and they end up with large sums of cash exceeding compensation scheme levels in accounts that are paying little or no interest. The actual process of trying to open a bank account can be onerous. Some banks demand you attend an appointment, which particularly in today's COVID world can be challenging. Having to prove your identity if you open the account can be difficult online. And so we've introduced a solution to make this easier for our clients. So we're working with a company called Flagstone, who provide an online cash management portal, which allows you to manage your cash deposits across a panel of different banks and building societies and many different deposit accounts at the push of a button. You only need to complete one application with Flagstone, and I can certify your identity to comply with money laundering regulations, and then no further paperwork is required to switch between banks. You can use the portal to maximise interest rates by diversifying deposits across a number of different banks and providers. We're successfully using this platform with a growing number of clients, and I myself use it for my own cash funds, and it's really easy to use, and it definitely reduces the hassle of trying to move money around to chase the best interest rates, and it reduces administration. So today we have Dan Willsher from Flagstone joining us. Now, unfortunately, Dan's camera's not working, so he is just a voice, but we have his slides. He's sharing his screen. We can see his slides. So he's going to walk us through his presentation, and then I understand we're going to a demonstration of how the platform actually works, which will be really useful. So Dan is a business development manager with Flagstone. He has over 6 years of financial services experience, spanning insurance, pensions, investments, and now cash. His claim to fame is that he once played rugby with the entire World Cup winning All Blacks team in 2011. That sounds like an interesting story, Dan, but I'll hand over to you for your presentation. Thank you.
It sounds like a good story, but I thought it'd be a nice fact. But yeah, thank you very much for that nice introduction. I mean, and very good summary of what Flagstone do. Yeah, I'm going to go through a couple of slides with you just to kind of introduce the concept of what we are and how we operate, and then go through a bit of a demonstration of the platform as well. Now, if I go straight into it and just start with our text slide here, bear with me. Perfect. So a really good way to sort of introduce the concept of Flagstone is to look at technology as sort of a disruptor within various sectors. You can see here I've got a few companies listed. Now, these are major disruptors in their chosen industry, but they have very little sort of tangible assets with within that sector. So, for example, Money Supermarket, they are the biggest introducer of insurance products, but don't actually underwrite any insurance products themselves. Booking.com own no hotels, but it's where we all go to start booking for our holidays. And then Uber, the biggest taxi company, without owning any taxis. So these are all businesses that ultimately just make that customer process better and allow clients to get a smoother journey of onboarding and perhaps accessing those products in the various fields. And that's exactly what Flagstone are aiming to do within cash and the deposit saving space. So as Carla mentioned, essentially what you're doing is opening a single Flagstone account, which allows you access to a marketplace where you can look at the best rates and take full advantage of those with no extra paperwork, no extra hassle, and you're always on top of the market whenever changes are happening. We've been around since 2013. We're fully authorized and regulated by the FCA. And you can see we are the market leader in what we do. So we have the largest panel of banks on our platform. It's now sitting at 45. We've transacted over £5 billion on the platform since we've been in operation. And our partnerships are with some of the biggest wealth managers in the UK, including, and probably most predominantly, is James's Place in that space. So all of these companies have done their due diligence, and always Flagstone has come out on top. So we are the market leader in what we do. And ultimately, like I said, it's all about improving the interest rate that you're getting on your current cash holdings, giving you protection using that FSCS £85,000 limit, and then removing all of the hassle that you're currently having to face every time you want to open up a new account. The way this actually works is that when you open up a Flagstone account, you actually open up a hub account, which is a transactional or holding account, and that's actually operated by Barclays. So the reason we do that is to reduce your credit exposure, or eliminate your credit exposure to Flagstone. So essentially all you're doing is moving money from your own personal bank over to the Barclays hub account, and then on to the various banks on the platform. So it's a seamless process, but it's all about keeping your money safe and secure. So this is all set up as a segregated trust mandate. So, and the fact that you're set up in this closed loop environment means that if the worst were to happen, let's say someone hacked into our tech platform, which would be very difficult, but if they were able to do that, all they could do is move money around the banks on the platform, back to the hub, and then back to your own account. They could never pay out to any third parties. And so this is an important security feature that we've implemented with the support of the FCA on that. On top of that, in terms of security, we have bank level encryption on all of our servers. We have 5 servers based around the world with random bits of information. So again, if the worst would happen and someone managed to get in, they'd have to piece every little part of client details together in order just to get that information. But they'd have to get through bank level encryption coding first. And we've also got 2-factor authentication on your own login details, just like you'd have with any other bank now in the UK. In terms of the banks that we have, like I said, this is what makes us the market leader in what we do. But you can see we are partnered with the biggest banks in the UK already. So HSBC, Barclays, Nationwide, and Santander, all on the platform. We've also got Lloyds, but they don't let us use their logo for some reason. But around that, we've got a whole series of challenger banks that maybe you're less familiar with. A few you might have seen either on the high street or in the papers and things. A lot of them are online banks, and they are the ones that are offering the strongest rates. So although you might not be familiar with them, they are out there, and they are giving you a lot more return for your money. Now, all of these banks that we have on the platform, we risk analyze all of them before they join us, and we give them a risk score. So this is a way to help you as clients understand and perhaps compare the banks together. So this is a risk score. I'll go into a bit more detail through the demonstration because it makes a little bit more sense. But it's essentially a single number that goes up to 100, 100 being the strongest possible bank. And all of this is updated on a weekly basis. So you can keep an eye on how these banks are faring from a financial strength perspective. And you can also rest assured that all of these, minus 4 banks, are fully protected by the FSCS scheme, which means we can actually protect up to £2.1 million, 100% protected by the UK government on our platform. I'll go into the banks in a little bit more detail on the demonstration side of things. But you, as clients of St James's Place, have access to 2 different propositions. So the main proposition is the 250k plus, which is effectively a full suite of all of the banks, all of the accounts that are available. But you, as clients of SAP, have access to the 50 to 250k option, which isn't available to anyone else. So the way this works is it's a more of a slimline version. Effectively, it's got a slightly reduced panel of banks by about half, with slightly reduced available accounts. So you still have instant access, you still have short-term accounts, but there's just fewer of them. So it's just designed to give you sort of a simplified view, but the actual mechanics behind it all work in exactly the same way. So when I show you the demonstration on the platform, it'll all look exactly the same. It'll just have a slightly reduced panel of banks. Now, the benefits of the 50 to 250k option is the fact that it's so much easier to onboard. Although we are all about removing the hassle for the full proposition, it's even easier on the 50 to 250k because there's no real anti-money laundering requirements from our perspective. It's all done online and automated. So there's also no upfront cost to setting up the account. The full proposition does require a bit more detail, almost the same as if you're opening up an account with any other bank. You need to provide identification, source of wealth information. So we still need that, but the key is that you only need to do it once, and then you are set on the platform and you can open up accounts with just a few clicks of the mouse. Now, the charges that we have on the platform, there are 2 charges to be aware of. On that full proposition, the 250k plus proposition, we have a £500 setup fee. And then on the 50 to 250k proposition, there is no admin fee to set up on that one. Like I said, it's much easier because it's online onboarding, so there's no cost to Flagstone in that, so we don't charge you for it. And then the annual management charge. So you can see on here, it starts at 0.25%. Now that's true of the 50 to 250k option as well. Starts at 0.25% and then tiers down to 0.15 for anything over £10 million. Outside of that, there are no additional costs. There are no additional fees for moving money off the platform or changing banks within the platform. That is all soaked up within the annual management charge. I will point out on this slide that the £500 fee for the full proposition is actually being waived at the moment. So there is a St James's Place campaign on for now. So if you do apply in July and you fund the account in August, then you're not going to have to pay that £500 administration fee. So you are getting a great deal there. A couple of case studies in point. I won't go over both of them in great detail, but you can see very easily that this is typical of most clients. A lot of people just sitting in one bank, earning very little interest, and of course not protected if they're investing any more than over £85,000. But just a couple of one application to Flagstone, a few bits of documentation provided to us, and they can instantly open up multiple accounts, really increase that interest rate that they're getting, but ultimately completely protecting all of their assets. That is it for the demonstration. For the presentation. What I'll do now is I'll cancel sharing my screen and then move on to the demonstration portal. That's okay. Bear with me 2 secs. Hopefully you can see my login screen there. I'll take silence as golden. So this is exactly how it would be if you set up an account with us. So once you've gone through the application process, provided all the information that we require, so ID, proof of address, and source of wealth information, what we'll do is process that within 2 to 3 days, send you out login details for your own account, and it will look exactly like this. Simply log in, and the first thing you'll see is the summary details for your account. So I've got demo accounts on here, but what you would see is your name, how much you're investing, and I'll just point out these red dots here mean that there's some action required. So perhaps you have money sitting in the hub account, or sitting or a fixed term is coming to maturity. These are just to notify you of that. So if you are logging in and there's a red dot, then perhaps take some action. I'll go through individuals as it is the most common client for us. We do also accept corporate accounts, SIPs, SASs, trusts, and charities as well. So any client type really can come on board to the Flagstone platform. This will be your landing page. This is a portfolio summary. I won't go into this now. I'll come back to it to be a bit more in a chronological order. So when you first log in, it's your first time onto the platform, I'd say go to the admin page here. Apologies for the delay in my internet. It's working from home. Running all these things doesn't work as well as in the office. Bear with me, this is very slow. Essentially, when this loads up, it will show you there we go. So it will show you a summary of all the information we've captured from your application form. So the basic information. You won't be able to edit this, but if there's any mistakes, then drop us a line just to clarify any of those points. But the first thing you're going to need to do before you set up the account is to fund the account. So that is simply the case of providing your existing bank with the sort code, account number, and personal reference number that will be displayed in this box here. And they'll essentially make that transfer over to the Barclays Hub account. So that's that Hub account, which is a transactional holding account from which you can then deposit money on the platform. So really simple to fund the account in the first instance. Withdrawing funds is equally simple. It's just a case of typing in how much you want to take off the platform in this box here, clicking confirm, and then the next screen would be confirm your bank details. And if they match the nominated return account that we have on file, then we'll send out the money that day. So if this request is made before 2:30 p.m., then the money will be over into the client's account that same day. If the numbers don't match, we won't pay the money. So that again, that brings back to that security feature, that closed loop mechanism. We won't pay to any third-party providers or third-party accounts on this. It needs to match the one that you've provided on the application form. Last couple of boxes on here. So firstly, the statement section. So you can produce ad hoc statements on here. So this goes for all of your accounts that you're holding on the platform. It's just a case of typing in the dates that you want the details for, and then it will produce or download a document for you to open below. So really simple to get that information. We'll also provide a consolidated tax statement every year. So that's perfect for you. You can either pass that on to an accountant or run your tax returns yourself. But that will give you all the information for all the accounts you're holding on the Flagstone platform. Again, making life a lot easier for you. Last one is the alerts tab. So this will keep you notified of any newer rates that are coming up on the platform, but also notify you of any accounts that you have that are coming to maturity. So we'll send you an email 2 weeks before, and then again on the day of that maturity event, that will then flick back into your Flagstone hub account automatically, and then you can decide what to do with that, either withdraw or reinvest onto the platform. But you can manage all of those alerts on here, really straightforward. I'll move on to the portfolio builder. So this is where you would then go to start building the account. So you've gone through, you've logged in, you've gone onto the admin page and funded the account. It's now time to start selecting the accounts that you want to invest with in the platform. Again, I'm expecting this to be a little bit slow. But what you'll see is a load of information talking about the types of accounts that are available. And we've tried to simplify that using this colorful graph. I'll just point out as well that we do offer accounts for different currencies as well. So we have US dollar accounts and euro accounts. So these options are available. But this graph is kind of the main show here. So essentially what you see is a color to represent every bank, a line to represent every account, and then the height of that line represents the interest rate that's available. And they're organized by financial strength. So you remember I said on the banks presentation slide that we risk analyze all of these banks. Like I said, we give them a score from 0 to 100, 0 being the weakest possible bank, 100 the strongest, and 50 an average model bank. And then we risk analyze them and put those scores published on here. So you can see on each bank, you've got the name of the bank, the terms, the interest rate, and the minimums and maximums investment amount for each case, and then that risk score as well. Now, for any of these banks, you may not be familiar with all of them. If you want to find out a bit more information, then you can just click on the name of that bank, and we'll provide you with a 3-page fact sheet that gives you a background into the bank, where they've accumulated their assets, etc., and then a breakdown of the actual risk score. So the way we get those risk scores is using a series of financial strength ratios, looking at things like liquidity, the strength of the assets, their balance sheet, their operational costs, and then we break that down using these different headings, give them different weightings, and then that will give us our model score here. Now this is how this bank actually compares to the model score, and then this is how it's changed over the course of the previous week. So like I said, these are updated on a weekly basis to give you up-to-date information, and then below you've got commentary on all of these accounts. Now, although this information is here, I will point out that if you are below the £85,000, you're not effectively taking any risk or exposure to these banks directly. So I would say don't get concerned or perhaps scared off by the amount of detail that's here, because if you're under the £85,000 limit, you don't need to be thinking too much about it because you're effectively 100% protected by the UK government in that instance. Now, if I go back to the portfolio builder page, so you can see this is a bit of a busy graph. So but, at the start, it goes from instant access up to 18-month terms. Well, we can filter that down. So if we want to look for specific durations, then we can open up this filter tab here on the left-hand side, click and drag these numbers down here. So let's say we want to go for more short-term accounts. Let's go from 1 to 4 months. We can also get rid of any of those FSCS banks that are, those banks that aren't protected by the FSCS scheme by clicking this box. So like I mentioned, there are 4 banks that aren't protected, and that's because they're international banks, so they don't have a UK license. So if you want to get rid of those, then simply click that box and then click apply. And this will take a few seconds to refresh, and you'll see we've got a slimline version of what we were seeing previously. So now we're looking only at instant access up to 4-month accounts. The same principles apply. The height of the line is the interest rate. They're all different accounts, and the colors are still representative of the banks that are offering those accounts. So very simple. I will be completely honest, I'm 100% colorblind. So what I do is, this colorful graph is completely useless to me. So what I do is usually use the table view. And then you've got lots of information on here, exactly the same as the graph, but actually a little bit of additional detail in terms of S&P, Moody's, and Fitch ratings where they're applicable. We're actually adding into the platform Fitch implied ratings soon, because you'll notice not all banks have current ratings. So the Fitch implied ratings will be coming shortly to give you sort of further analysis on each of these banks. Now, when it comes to selecting a bank and adding it to your portfolio, I'll go back to the graph for this. It's just a case of clicking on it. So if we find one we're interested in, let's take this account, for example. Now, this is a demo account, so it's not exactly how you would see it as a client, but essentially this pop-up would come up and it would say, are you aware of XYZ regulation, talking about the various banks and their regulated bodies. So you just have to accept that. And then what would happen is these accounts would drop down below. So you can see these ones are coloured in because they've already been completed. Where you'd get an additional bank come down below that in a greyed out colour, and then a text box would be available here. So you type in how much you're looking to invest in that bank, and then at the bottom would be a button to execute and agree to the terms and conditions for that bank. Now you can do that multiple times. So let's say you needed 10 accounts to give you 10 lots of £85,000. You can click on 10 different accounts. They would all drop down below. You can type in £85,000 into each box, click execute, and then all of those accounts would open up simultaneously. You would have the money within those accounts, usually within 24 hours. 90% of the time it opens within 24 hours. And if not, it's within 48 hours. So yeah, really seamless way of opening up these accounts. Like I said, once you've done your application, there is no additional paperwork. So it is literally just a few clicks and you've opened up an account with any of the banks on the platform. That's pretty much it for the portfolio summary page. So once you've done that, portfolio builder page, once you've done that, it's back to the portfolio summary. And this will be kind of where you're dropping in just to keep an eye on things. You won't get this pop up because again, this is a demo account. And then you'd see a bit of an overview as to what you're invested in. This pie chart down here has the colors that are consistent across the platform. So each of the banks is represented by that color. The light blue color is the hub account, the Barclays hub account that we talked about. And then you've got the summary information at the top with your total portfolio balance, what your charges are up here on the right-hand side, your gross interest rate, and then effectively your net interest rate below that, as well as a bit of a breakdown as to the terms that are on the platform. If I scroll down, you get a breakdown of the individual accounts. So at the top here, you've got the Barclays hub account, and then below that, you've got the 2 accounts that are already invested on this portfolio. You would see on a daily basis, this would be updating. So you would see the interest accruing every day. And then that gets realized once you've withdrawn that or returned that back to the hub account. And then you can either reinvest that interest or withdraw it off the platform completely. If they are notice accounts, so the accounts that we offer are instant access, notice, and fixed term deposits. So instant access, as it says, are available instantly. So you can return that straight back to the hub whenever you want. Those options would be up on this screen underneath any of the accounts that are instant access. Then you've got notice accounts. So they are accounts that will run on and on until you give your notice. So typical notice periods would be 30 days, 45 days, or 95 days. So if you give your notice, then it will be 30 days from that day that you give a notice. The money will automatically revert back to the hub account. Again, the boxes to give notice will be down here. Fixed term deposits won't have any options because there's not a lot you can do with them. Once you've opened them, you've selected your fixed term, that will just run and then automatically revert back to the hub when they are finished. That's it for the portfolio page, really. Just a couple of other points to point out. If you're ever stuck on the platform, then you've got plenty of help available. So firstly, the first port of call would be to click on the help bar. You've got plenty of videos to run through if you're ever stuck on specific little things. But also you've got a full customer service team available based in the UK, usually based in London, obviously not at the moment, or based at home. But they are available to sort of help you through any queries you have once you're onboarded. Up to that point, I'll be a point of contact for you. So if you can feel free to drop me a line, I'm happy to help where I can. And we also have an applications team that can run through any onboarding queries that you might have. So types of documents that we might need, etc. But yes, so there's plenty of support that you can have. And ultimately, that is how the platform works. It is a very simple process. It doesn't take long to get to feel like an expert, if I'm completely honest. It's an intuitive platform. And as you can see, it really just takes seconds to open up multiple accounts and really get that benefit of increasing your interest rate, but reducing the risk. Now that's it from me.
Brilliant, thank you, Dan. I wonder, could you just refresh the dates? Obviously at the moment on the 250 plus platform, we've got the special offer.
Yeah.
What are the deadlines on that special offer?
Yep, so the application has to be in this month, and then the account needs to be funded by the 17th of August.
Okay, so they're the deadlines we need to be aware of. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And obviously I know from experience it's very quick to open the accounts. So,
yep.
I mean, just for the benefit of the people on the webinar, the process to open an account is if you contact myself and let me know that you wanted to open an account, I then effect an introduction to Flagstone, copying you in. and then Flagstone email you directly all the information that the application form that you then need to complete. And I can liaise directly with Flagstone to supply them with any ID documentation they might require as well. I don't think there's anything else that you would need, is there, Dan?
Absolutely, no, that's pretty much everything. The only thing I'll add is that once the referral was made, one of our BDMs, so myself and one of my colleagues, would also drop you an email or a call just to offer any additional support that you might need.
Brilliant. I mean, I personally find the portal very easy to use. I particularly like the ability to see the risk rating of the different banks. That's really useful because you can decide, obviously up to the 85,000 you are protected anyway. But if you've got a bank that's got a particularly good interest rate, you might want to put more than 85,000 in there. It's really useful to get it's that risk versus reward conundrum. Is it worth taking the additional risk of putting more than 85,000 in to get the additional interest rate? So I think that's really useful.
Absolutely, yeah, it works really well. And I think it's actually quite interesting looking at the risk scores, because some of the banks you may know really well, like HSBC, for example, might score lower than you'd expect. But it's because their operational costs are through the roof, because they have so many branches around the country. So they have a lot of costs, whereas some of the other banks are completely online. They have very little overheads and they're still getting millions in deposits. So yeah, the risk scores are actually a really interesting insight.
Absolutely. And the beauty of this portal is that you don't need to take that risk. If you're comfortable with the interest rates available, keep to 85,000 per provider, it just makes life so much easier. And obviously, it makes life easier in terms of administration, because when it comes to doing your accounts or your self-assessment at the end of the year, if you're earning enough interest that you need to pay tax on that interest, you can just print off one statement. You've got all the information there as well, rather than having to get paperwork from lots of different banks on building societies you end up having to wait for.
Absolutely.
The other thing to say is, obviously, you have got the client services available through Flagstone if you do have any problems using the portal. But we're also here at Oakmere, and we can walk you through, perhaps the first time you log on, you're not quite sure what to do. We can walk you through that as well, and we can do it via a Zoom call or whatever to help you with that. So I don't think we've got any other questions that have come through. Let me just double check. No, we haven't. So thank you, Dan. That was really great, and I do hope everybody's found that interesting. Thank you for your time.
No problem. No, it's good. Thank you.
Okay. So the next webinar we're planning will be in a couple of it's next week actually, and the topic is inheritance tax planning. So we've got Michelle Tong back from JMW Solicitors. She's going to be joining us again for that. So I do hope you'll log in and get some benefit from that. So there'll be an invite coming out very soon. It will also be going out on the website. We'll have it advertised on there, Facebook and LinkedIn. So do just let us know if you want to join us for the webinar. We'll send you a registration, and also pass on to any friends or family that you might think would benefit from that. As you all know, it's business as usual at Oakmere. We are in the process, it's really exciting. We're just introducing a new client portal. So we're rolling this out across our client base, so you'll be receiving information on it very soon. The portal allows us to have secure messaging with clients, also video conferencing, and it gives us the ability to store all your documents. We can sign things within the portal as well, so it reduces the need for printing and posting, so thinking about the environmental impact there. So if you haven't already had an email about joining the client portal, it will be coming to you very soon. And again, we'll talk you through how we do that. So finally, just want to say thanks to Dan for giving us his time today. And also to you for attending. So please remember, do stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you on another webinar very soon. Thank you for joining us.